Happy Friday, everybody. The NBA in-season tournament bracket has been set, so Patrick and I are making our official predictions after kind of not doing so well to begin with on those. We're doing our way too early MVP ladder. We're at the quarter mark, so why not compare some MVP candidates? Let's get into foul trouble.
James.
Patrick.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. I've really been looking forward to this episode. As anyone that has listened to this podcast would know, me and James have really planted our flag between two teams. Me, the Timberwolves, James, the Thunder. And we made a bet very early on
in the show
that whoever lost in the first matchup, we would have to wear the jersey of the opposite team. So, James, I have your Karl Anthony Towns jersey right here. I know he's one of your favorite players.
Yeah, I'm not a big Cat guy. I've never been a big fan of Mr. Towns in his game.
Hey, at least it was a good game.
Great game.
It was a great game. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Just, two of the top teams in the West playing in their final in-season tournament game. This is very...
I'm struggling to put this jersey on.
I know. You're like trying to do it in a phone booth. But I just wanted to highlight Rudy Gobert a little bit.
Yeah, Rudy was awesome in that game.
The first time that we've seen Chet look like a rookie, I think was that game. But seeing Chet, I didn't realize, I didn't put two and two together that Chet playing against the Timberwolves in Minnesota would be Chet's big homecoming. Because for those of you that don't know, Chet Holmgren is from Minnesota. He was Minnesota Mr. Basketball in 2021. And that sent me on this huge deep dive.
Oh, you didn't know that Minnesota views him as a traitor?
I didn't know that. But this is so a couple times in NBA history, we've had really awesome player versus hometown team rivalries. And I compiled a list, and I just want to get your opinion of could this be the next great one? And what is the best player versus hometown team rivalry of all time?
Okay.
Do any come to mind when I say it, or do you want me to list out the five that I was able to think of?
I mean, do you view rivalry in a fun sports sense? Because Russell Westbrook versus the citizens of Los Angeles has become an all-time beef.
That is true.
He is hated by his hometown.
Russ didn't make my list, but that is a very good one. Okay, so the number one, and I think probably my favorite, is Isaiah Thomas, 80s Isaiah Thomas versus Chicago. Of course, he's legendary high school basketball on the west side of Chicago, and then drafted by the Pistons.
Hated by the Bulls.
And it's just bad boys Pistons versus young MJ. They played 4 times. Zeke won 3 of those playoff matchups. Another Chicago one, Dwayne Wade, our guy, versus Chicago. They played also 4 times, and Dwayne Wade also had a 3-1 record against them in the playoffs. A less competitive one, but I think one that probably the best one of the last 15 years, Dame versus the Warriors. Of course, iconic Oakland guy. He played the Warriors 3 times in the playoffs. Do you know his lifetime record in the playoffs against the Warriors?
Games or series?
Games.
Let's go 2-14.
Pretty close. 1-12.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah, very rough. Then I got Magic versus the Pistons. Of course, they played twice in the finals. And then my last one, Mr. Basketball of 1995, Paul Pierce in California versus the Lakers. They met in the finals twice, obviously, 1-1. When I list those out, what do you think is the best one of all time?
Ooh, the best one of all time. Player versus their hometown. I mean, I guess I'll go Pistons and Magic Johnson.
Okay. Yeah,
Just because Magic also went to Michigan State. He was kind of Mr. Michigan before the Lakers. With Chet, I've heard that a lot of Minnesota people feel him as a traitor because he didn't go to U of M. And I don't know if that's a Midwest thing, because I know Tyler Hero got a ton of flack for not going to a Wisconsin school too.
I almost put Tyler Hero versus the Bucks, on this, but I didn't feel like he had quite the cachet yet. But yeah, I think that is a great choice. Also, one of my favorite things about like the Magic versus Isaiah thing is like 2 of the top 4 point guards of all time,
and 2 of the 4 worst GM presidents of all time.
Yes, that is true. So what do you think? Do you think this could be on that list? No?
I don't think Chet is going to get up. I feel like to be in this conversation, because look at the names you brought up. I think Chet's really good. He might go down as one of the best 3 big man shooters ever, but he's not going to go down as a Magic Johnson level player. You
don't think he can scrape Dame level?
I mean, he could scrape Dame level, but Dame wasn't my pick.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, that was just the deep dive that I wanted to touch on. In-season tournament, we're to the knockout rounds.
We are. So which of the 4 games are you most excited for? We have Suns at Lakers, Pelicans at Kings, Knicks at Bucks, and Pacers at Celtics.
I mean, you know my answer.
It's the Suns, right?
It's the Suns versus the Lakers. What about you?
I think all of these are weird matchups. I did a little bit of for the West. So the Lakers are 2-0 versus the Suns, but Booker didn't play in the games. The Pelicans are 2-0 versus the Kings. Both of those were in New Orleans.
All in the last 10 days they have played these games.
Yes. The Knicks and the Bucks. So the Bucks already beat the Knicks in their in-season tournament game. And Celtics Pacers is Pacers could beat or lose to anybody at any given night. And the Celtics are the best team in the NBA at the moment. So, oddly enough, even though it's the 2 smallest teams, I think the one that has the most potential to be like a really fun game is Pelicans Kings.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Pelicans Kings, and it's our first chance to see. This is the biggest game of Zion's career, isn't it?
I guess so.
Right? I mean, like, what else would even compare?
Maybe like 3rd round of March Madness.
Yeah, 3rd round of March Madness. I was thinking that first game that Zion played against the Lakers, his rookie year, that was like a pretty big and highly watched game. Do you want to roll through each one of these and kind of like
make our picks?
Like lay out anything else we're excited about in these games?
Let's do it. So Suns at Lakers. I'm guessing you picked the Suns.
I did pick the Suns. I just feel like after 2 fourth quarter collapses by the Suns in the last 2 times they played the Lakers, the Suns, they just gotta get this one. I'm worried though. Devin Booker rolled his ankle a little bit in the game against Toronto two nights ago. So we will see if he plays. Of course, if he doesn't play, I don't know if the Suns have a real shot, but Devin Booker loves to play big games in crypto.com arena. He's won 3 playoff series against the Lakers and Clippers. If he's there, I've got him. Who do you got?
So do I think the Lakers can go 3-0 versus the Suns? And honestly, no, but you know what? I've been riding the Lakers. I've been the Lakers truther this whole time. I picked the Lakers. I think the one thing that made me think about it was in those first 2 games where Booker didn't play, the Suns did have these crazy scoring halves. So it's not like they could actually improve too much upon that, even with another player in that place. So, I'm not putting a lot of thought or deep analysis into these games, to be honest. I'm just going to roll with the Lakers. I think Anthony Davis is going to this is going to be the good AD game. This is going to be the up AD game.
Yeah, I do think that there's some added juice to it for LeBron in that he really wants to own the Las Vegas team. So he has to get to Vegas.
His foot in the door.
He's got to get his foot in the door. He's got to get his face in front of all the Las Vegas NBA fans. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I'm banking on Booker and crypto, the arena which he owns. All right. Pelicans Kings.
Pelicans Kings. So Pelicans, as I said, 2-0 versus the Kings. Both games were in New Orleans. Zion kind of scored pretty easily, pretty efficiently in both of these games. But again, not putting a lot of thought into these games. I'm going to go roll with the Kings.
I am right there with you. This game is being played in Sacramento.
Yep.
Like the Sacramento fans, they're going to be out. They're going to have their cowbells. They're going to be going absolutely crazy. So I would be shocked if they're not lighting the beam by the end of the night.
Yeah, and I think De'Aaron's at least proven. I know they lost in the first round, but he was awesome versus the Warriors in the playoffs last year. This game will have a little bit more of a playoff setting. I think that benefits the Kings a little bit, but I don't know, man. This game could go either way. That's why I think it's low-key the most exciting of the four.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Alvin Gentry Bowl, if you will. And can we just say De'Aaron Fox is like
awesome,
amazing.
Yeah, he's
30
really
points a game, almost 6 assists. Like he's not. I assume he's not going to come up in our
MVP ladder.
MVP ladder later, but that dude is so good.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Just so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Suns or Lakers
and Kings
in the second round.
Do you want to do the West first or finish the first round?
Let's pick. Let's do the West, and then we'll go over to the East.
All right. So in my hypothetical Lakers versus Kings, I think maybe you've seen the weird stat. Domantas Sabonis is 8-0 all time versus Anthony Davis. I feel like that's a very fluky stat. I cannot believe that's a real stat. And since I said AD is going to have the good AD game versus the Suns, I'm going to give the bad AD game versus the Kings, and I'm going to pick the Kings to beat the Lakers.
Wow. That's an insane stat.
I know.
Is that real?
That is real.
What? That's crazy. AD should like get taken off the NBA 75 list until he can beat Domantas Sabonis.
I agree.
Like, how do we send that into the NBA? Okay. It's so hard to take my heart and my head away from each other right now. But look, in this world where Devin Booker is healthy and won this game against the Lakers, I have to take them against the Kings as well. Keegan Murray has been not healthy as of late. So I guess they're throwing Harrison Barnes at KD, which I don't love for the Kings. Vegas is a lot closer to Phoenix, so I think they're going to get some of those fans there. So I will pick the Suns to move on to the finals.
Okay, so you have the Suns and I have the Kings. Moving to the East, Knicks at Bucks. Yeah, I picked the Bucks.
I also picked the Bucks.
They already beat the Knicks. The Knicks offense, it could improve. I feel like people are kind of overblowing how bad I think the Bucks defense is personally.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been. The numbers are not kind to it. 21st in defensive rating.
They're not kind, but if any team is not really going to blow the doors off a team like this, it's not. I just don't think the Knicks are going to have some crazy 125-point game in this one. And Giannis is just really on it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, I think
Giannis and Dame in a big game, I like a lot more than RJ Barrett.
It's in Milwaukee, which I think the Milwaukee fans will really show up for it. And the way the Knicks win these games is it's all based around their like hustle and rebounding. And I think the Bucks have enough size to make that really, really difficult for them. So I also picked the Bucks, but I think this is going to be a really, really fun game.
Yeah, I think it could be fun. I think it could be a blowout though.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just feel like the Bucks are always in these like dogfight
weird games. Yeah, that's true.
And like, there's got to be some Dame time. There's like, this has a chance to be Damian Lillard's real like welcome to Milwaukee. Like, I'm here. I'm owning myself as the Bucks like superstar B now.
Yeah, I love Damian Lillard in this like March Madness-y type setting. All right, final game, Pacers at Celtics. Again, I didn't really do a lot of deep dive analysis in these games, these like single games. I just picked the Celtics are the best team in the NBA.
Yeah. I mean, you can make it as easy as that, and I don't think you're wrong. Yeah, this is the number one offense in the NBA versus the number one net rating team in the NBA. The only time that they played this year was when the Celtics absolutely massacred them 155-104, but Tyrese Halliburton wasn't playing in that game. So
that's a wash.
You can kind of throw it out. I think the Celtics are going to blow them out though.
Okay, cool. So I'm glad our bracket's the same on one side. Who do you have in this Bucks Celtics matchup? You want to know what my note is?
What's your note?
I wrote Giannis goes off, no rational thought. Yeah, I don't know. One single game. I feel like you remember that meme about Giannis, how he's the biggest, like, quote unquote, try hard in NBA All-Star history? I feel like just Giannis is going to do one of those, like, 45 Giannis bombs. I'm just feeling it. I got Giannis vibes flowing through me.
Yeah.
Giannis takes over.
You're kind of talking. I didn't think at all about, like, later into the tournament. I figured we would talk it out, and you're really talking me into this, just like
with no backup, no
Giannis.
stats. I have no evidence to back up anything I'm saying. I got Giannis vibes flowing through me.
I also feel like we are like there's got to be a Jason Tatum stinker in here somewhere, and I feel like it could be against the Bucks. So yeah, why not? That would be fun. I like that better than just the Celtics. Like
just going chalk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if the Celtics, now my agenda is getting involved in this, but if the Celtics just run through the in-season tournament, then I feel like the rest of the season is just like, okay, well, like they're the guys.
They're inevitable.
Like, they're inevitable.
Until
What's going to happen?
All right, so you have Bucks Suns. I have Bucks Kings. I didn't actually write a team down. I guess I'm just gonna pick the Bucks.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick the Bucks. Yeah.
Yeah. A 2021 Finals rematch. Fuck it. I'm going with the Suns. Let's go. Let's go. We're getting our revenge. Devin Booker is going to hoist the NBA Cup over a crying Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't know why. It's just
it's been foretold in the prophecy.
It's been foretold in the prophecy, and they want it. They just want it.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be really funny when we get a Pelicans Pacers final, but
I will sign up for that every day of the week. Oh my God.
It'd be really fun if Zion like managed to will his team to victory. I feel like it would like put him back on the map.
How do you think the NBA feels about their final 8?
I think the NBA is happy that there's going to be a national exposure for Halliburton. Like, it's a good thing we're getting Halliburton versus a relatively big market team, and not like obviously this couldn't happen, but like a Pacers Pelicans would be like the NBA's worst nightmare, where it's like they're not getting to showcase either guy. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're happy the Lakers are in it. If they get a Lakers Celtics finals, I mean, that'd be the coolest thing ever.
That would be amazing. I think the West side was like, if the Warriors were able to make it through, I think this would have been maybe the ideal West bracket for the NBA. Because, of course, you got Suns and you got Lakers. That's like your old guard stars that you know are going to work. You got Zion, and then you got Steph. But obviously that didn't happen. But the Kings are fun. They're lighting the beam. More people need to know about it.
9-0
And then
Sabonis.
You got New York. You got Damon Giannis. You got the Celtics. I don't know how they feel about the Pacers, but
yeah, I mean, I think the NBA, it's good that the Pacers are going to have an opportunity to show Halliburton on national TV, because there's a lot of NBA fans who know about Halliburton but have not watched him yet.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've like seen the ESPN and House of Highlights,
yeah.
Like packages about him. Yeah, I hope people really fall in love with him over this experience, because he's just such a fun player to watch. How did you feel about the Celtics Haka Drummond?
I loved it.
I did too.
Yeah, like I just think the Bulls need to stop complaining about point differential and just do something about it.
Yes.
Like, dude, you're an NBA player. You know the rules. Like, they're like, oh, well, this point differential thing is taking away from the integrity of the game. Bro, if you're done trying because you're losing, that's no integrity in your game either.
Exactly. I feel like I've seen a lot of pushback to the point differential thing. And
it's all from teams that suck.
Exactly. I just don't get it.
Stop being bad at basketball.
Stop being bad. And like the integrity of the game is like the buzzwords that we've seen over and over again. Like, you laid it out perfectly. What has more integrity than playing the full 48 minutes?
Yeah, like, again, the Celtics got in because of their point differential. Like, they needed to do that. So what are the Celtics supposed to do? Just not try to make it?
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the difference between a team like the Celtics, right? They're the best team in the NBA right now. They're killing it. And a team like the Bulls, that's like with all due respect, it's losing culture, losing players. Like, I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say.
I know we're saying all this. We're giving the Bucks
I don't
love.
have to apologize. Bulls fans hate this team. The Bulls are a bunch of losers right now.
Yeah,
Like straight up, it's a losing team with losing players. There's a reason they're not going to get a big haul for DeRozan, Levine, or Vucevic. Like, they don't win. DeMar DeRozan had like a negative point differential for the first like 10 years of his career. When he was on the court, his teams were always worse.
And the one game that they do win against a good team is last night when they don't have Levine or DeRozan, two guys that like are supposed to be their tentpole stars. Well, they go out and beat the Bucks in a very highly competitive game without either one of them. Maybe like that is what they need to rebuild like a normal team.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we do need to have a Bulls discussion at some point during the season. But I don't like talking about that team. They're just not a fun team to talk about for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, aside from fake trades, which I love, there's not really a lot that I would want to talk about. I mean, there's no fun young players. And then their older players, they're just a little
Whiny,
bitter, I was going to say. Yeah.
But hey, Bulls fans, I am rooting for you guys to get a good player. I will say, growing up as a Heat fan in my formative years, the Bulls were always a team. Them and the Celtics I always despised. But the Bulls are kind of like the Knicks in that the NBA as a whole is a lot more fun when the Bulls are good. Like when the Bulls are part of like the national discourse and the media and they're like beefing with Heat fans, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. I mean, but to be honest, the Bulls are one of the teams that I will never, ever, ever feel bad for their fans when they're not good because they got 6 championships in the 90s.
Okay, but not a lot of people who are, younger people want to watch those.
I don't care. I don't care. You got 6 championships in like modern NBA. Like all things have to even out.
But would you rather the Suns have 4 championships in the 80s or one that you got to watch?
I mean, I don't know. I can always go back and watch, but I'm a sicko. I would go back and watch those 4 championships. Wow, I'm just like picturing like the Walter Davis, Paul Westphal championship runs that I'm just sitting and combing over. Okay.
Let's talk about our MVPs.
Let's talk about MVPs. We're getting way too deep into it. Okay, so me and James have prepared, each of us have prepared 5-man MVP ladders up until this point in the season. Do you want to shout out any names that didn't make your list?
Yeah, I mean, LeBron.
Yeah.
He's kind of just been the whole heart and soul of the Lakers in a season where it feels like Anthony Davis really hasn't put his footprint on the team. It kind of feels like Reeves has taken a step back. Just feels like LeBron has really kind of carried that team, but I did not have him in my top 5.
Yeah, LeBron was a late cut for me as well. I also want to shout out KD. Like, absolutely incredible season thus far. 31 points a game on 51, 49, 89 shooting. Like, that's just absolutely sick. Also, Devin Booker, I feel like he has had an amazing season thus far. He's averaging career highs in points, rebounds, and assists. For me, at this point, he just hadn't played enough.
I guess another guy I didn't have on my 5. He's probably on a lot of people's 5s. I didn't have Shea on my 5. Shea's just balling.
Wow. Okay. I'm very interested to see who your 5 are now.
All right. You want to get into it? Who do you
Yeah,
have
let's
at
get
number
into
5?
it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Who did you have for number 5?
I had Jason Tatum.
Okay.
He's averaging 27.7, 8.8, and 4.1. He's the best player on the best team in the NBA. I wrote a weird / fun stat for everybody. And so the one thing that I don't like about Tatum is there's just sometimes I watch the Celtics and I'm like, why does Jaylen Brown have 10 more shot attempts than him? I want my MVP to be the assertive go-to guy, especially when his main value is scoring. One of those weird Tatum stat?
Yeah.
The Celtics are 4-3 when Tatum takes 8 threes or less. The Celtics are 10-1 when he attempts 9 threes or more.
Wow.
So when it's just his general field goals, it is actually split. The 2 losses are both even, but his like 3 lowest field goal attempt games are where the 2 losses are. So there is a trend where when Tatum is less involved, the Celtics aren't as good, which to me, like, over the course of the season. I just want Tatum to kind of really round into the like, hey man, I'm the MVP level player on the team. Like, I don't know. But Tatum's awesome, man. He's an amazing defensive player. He's a great rebounder. He's an amazing go-to scorer. This is another year of incremental improvement for him. He's up 3% at his rim shooting percentage. He's up 5% at his mid-range shooting percentage. His three-point is up 2% over last year, and he's taking a ton of contested threes. It's kind of his shot profile. He's huge. He's a dominating presence. I didn't want to move him up any further because I just feel like he is on such a stacked team where his load is a little bit less than the four guys I have ahead of him. But yeah, I have Jason Tatum. I feel good about that.
Jason Tatum actually wasn't a part of my top 5. And for a reason that you're kind of hinting at right there, I just felt like his team is so stacked that they just don't need as much from him as the other like super marquee superstars in this league have like on their plate. So I actually had Luka at number 5.
Okay.
Just a really awesome season this year, especially coming after the end of last season. We've talked a lot about like the cohesion with Kyrie Irving. It's really starting to work in a really nice way that really makes sense for them. He's averaging 31 points a game, 8 rebounds, almost 8 assists, a steal and almost a half. And like, he's 3rd in the league in points per game, 6th in the league in assists per game. I really like that he was able this season to scale back his usage rate just a little bit and incorporate Kyrie in like a really like not grifty way. Like Kyrie's not just getting like catch and shoot threes. Like he's able to create with Luka on the side. I mean, I don't have to.
I've got Luka at number 2, man.
Pitch you on Luka. Okay.
So my weird fun stat for Luka. So obviously, big thing with Luka. The Mavs are 8-1 in games that go to clutch time. So games that are within the last 5 minutes that are within 5 points or less. Luka, the Mavericks are outscoring teams by 3.4 points when Luka's in clutch time. That like extrapolated is a massive. The Mavericks are by far and away like the best clutch team in the NBA right now.
Yeah, I actually have like close to the same stat right here.
Here's a crazier stat. Luka has not turned the ball over once this season in clutch time.
Well, and his shooting splits are 50, 50, 100.
Luka Doncic is so... It's kind of crazy. I'm watching them versus Houston, and Kyrie is having a really good fourth quarter, right? He's like crossing guys over. He's hitting tough shots. And I'm like, wow, Kyrie's going off. And then they give the ball to Luka, and it's just like, wow, Luka just scored effortlessly. Wow, Luka just bodied Sengun, who's a center. Wow, like Luka just did a perfect behind the back pass into the shooter's pocket because they're so afraid of him moving off of a pick and roll. I think he's just right now, I think he's by far the best perimeter scorer in the NBA. Just the diversity of his shot profile, the efficiency, the strength, the size, like I don't know, he's just on another level right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can go on and on and on about just how special of a player Luka Doncic is, but I think what you said about the clutch time is like the whole Luka experience. And it's exactly why they didn't work last year is because they couldn't figure out the clutch. And then you come into this year and it's just like gangbusters. They're 8-1 in games where they're in the clutch. And to be 11-6 with 8 clutch time wins, like it's just, he is such an amazing player.
So I guess with Luka, what was the thing that made him drop all the way to 5 for you?
Defensive impact, I think is huge. We've talked a little bit about, I think going forward, it's going to be really hard for like perimeter oriented players to win this award. And I agree with that. Like it's just, especially in the regular season, it is so valuable to have like a little bit of rim protection or a lot of bit of rim protection, as we'll like go over with some of my higher ranked candidates. This having Luka at 5 is in no way saying that like he's not MVP worthy, but there's just a lot of MVP worthy players thus far.
Yeah, of the 5 players I've chosen, he is definitely the worst defender of the bunch. But all right, who did you have at number 4?
I had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
All right.
So Shai is averaging 30 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. He's on the 3 seed in the NBA or in the Western Conference right now. One huge thing, like narrative wise, he has taken a team. He is the clear best player, and he has elevated them to like in the conversation for a like contender in this league, which I think is a huge part of like the Shea candidacy. But what I was really shocked by looking over all of the stats with Shea is I think thus far into Shea's career, obviously he's a dominant scorer. He's been really great in the clutch, but what has been different for this season is I think hypothetically he's been a really good defender or a really good option on the perimeter throughout his career. But right now he is like, at least the stats bear out, he is a dominant perimeter defender right now. He's leading the league in steals per game with 2.4. He is a top 10 in defensive rating. He is top 10. He is second in defensive box plus minus. And this is like to couple with all of his like super dominant offensive stats. He's third in free throw percentage, shooting 94% from the line. It's just from like a big point guard, he has given me everything that I've wanted. And when comparing him to someone like Luka, really he's giving you everything that Luka is giving you on the offensive side, but he's just like this huge pest on defense that's really changing the game. So I just valued it a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if I quite agree he's giving you everything offensively that Luka is.
I mean, maybe not quite as much from like a creation for others standpoint, but like, I mean, like, especially like in the post-up game, like he's in the 92nd percentile, 1.26 points per possession on post-ups. Like this guy, like,
he's a stud,
can score whenever he wants. And I mean, I do think he has a little bit of a better team around him than Luka, but the defense is where it really separated for me.
Number 4, I had Giannis Antetokounmpo.
There we go. I got him at number 3.
Giannis is averaging 29.8, 10.8 rebounds, 4.7 assists. One small thing I talked about kind of earlier in the season was Giannis's efficiency kind of drifting backwards subtly year over year. It's way up again. My fun Giannis stat, he has 3 games of 40-plus points on over 69% shooting. That hasn't been done in the same season since the Jordan era by one Michael Jordan and Karl Malone.
They're good.
Those are pretty good guys.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I think obviously there's been a lot of hubbubaloo about the Bucks defense being, what did you say? It's 22nd, 23rd right now?
Yeah, 21st.
In net rating, though, they're pretty strong. Their offense is really, really, really good. Giannis is just, he's kind of inevitable. I don't know. I just feel like Giannis's impact on the game is just so like overwhelming in the paint, where he's just this efficiency scoring monster. Two-way, I know as a team the Bucks defense isn't great. I also tried to see what the Bucks defense just looks like in all Giannis lineups. It's still not that great, admittedly, but I guess my list is a little forward viewing, where I just feel like the Bucks are going to kind of keep maintaining this winning percentage going forward. And yeah, I just think versus Tatum, the reason I have him ahead of Tatum is because I think there is a bigger load, and I just straight up do think he is a bit better player than Jason Tatum. I just think his like gravity toward the rim really opens the game up for Middleton and Dame. Like they had a close game versus the Heat the other day, and Middleton actually ended up being the closer. So I guess you could be like, well, Giannis isn't closing, but Middleton's getting these clean ISO looks because Giannis is just like keeping Bam so far out of the play. And that's the thing. The other team always has to divert their attention toward Giannis. It's kind of like the inverse version of Steph, where Steph is dragging these really good perimeter defenders away from the action, but Giannis is dragging all of the good interior defenders away from the action, which has a lot of benefits for his teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm right there with you. I think the Giannis case right now is a little forward leaning in that like he's been so good this season, but the scenario that he's been playing within just makes it so clear that he can be so much better. You know, like the Dame Giannis thing hasn't been like the perfect fit thus far that it's so obvious that it could be. So I think like those efficiency numbers could get like even slightly better The defensive like metrics can get better. Like, and he's still, he's third in defensive box plus minus, which I think is probably like my favorite holistic, like catch-all defensive stat. And like you said, the team results for the defense in Milwaukee haven't been amazing just yet. But I think if you take Giannis out of that situation, that's where they start looking like the Trailblazers of the last couple of years, Yeah, I mean, I think he's the third best player in the league. So I think he has super dominant numbers. So I put him at third. You really laid it out perfectly.
Yep. Giannis is the man.
Who do you have at third?
I've got Joel Embiid.
Okay.
Because I had Luka at 2.
Okay. Yes. Makes sense.
So Embiid, 32 points, 11 rebounds, 6.6 assists. My fun stat, he has not scored under 20 yet. The passing has taken a huge leap under Nurse. He's basically 2 assists over his career high this year. He is one of the best, if not the best, like interior defender in the NBA when he's really trying. Obviously, if you have to quantify it with if he's really trying, speaks for itself. But he's averaging 32 points a game. He's one of the best rebounders. He's probably the single most, if he has the ball, the other team goes, oh shit, in the entire NBA because like you have to double him. Mm-hmm. Playing in this new movement system has really opened up his game now that he doesn't have to do as much self-creation, and he's such a good play finisher. Single-handedly, just one of the most impactful players on regular season winning we've seen since he came into the NBA. And I have him third.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things about Embiid's candidacy, I have him at 2, is like he has a real like clear narrative to win MVP this year in that like really like the Sixers have been in deep, deep turmoil ever since the end of last season. And Embiid has just been that steadying, like, what's it called? That in the deep into the fog of the ocean. He's the foundation. He is the light in the sea where the Philadelphia fans can find refuge. He has just been such a calming presence. Embiid is leading the league in usage rate right now, which is just awesome for him. Like, I love that he's been able to finally take on that like mantle of lead initiator in this 76ers offense. Not lead initiator, but they're playing through him.
He's the hub.
Yeah, in a way that they didn't last year and a lot of the time in the Ben Simmons era.
Yeah. Playing through him in a way that is involving everybody and not playing through him in a way that's like, we gave you the ball at the elbow, go score.
Exactly.
Like it's like, go get the team a score.
Yeah. He is third in the league in contested 2-pointers, which I love. Like that just means like he's really like in the thick of things. The one thing that kind of like sent up a little bit of a red flag for me is Embiid sneaky hasn't been great in the clutch this season. He's shooting 30% in the clutch, and they're a minus 23. Obviously, super small sample size for the Sixers, and a lot of that is because of the game 1 against the Bucks, where they just destroyed them in that clutch scenario. But I mean, this guy's leading the league in scoring. He is absolutely...
He just dominated AD so bad that he didn't have to play in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he's just such an amazing player, and I've got him at 2.
Yeah, the main reason I had him at 3 behind Luka is that clutch thing, just because we've seen it with the Sixers. When it does get to clutch time, the Sixers kind of want to get Embiid the ball, and it seems like that double team out of that like kind of low block area, that mid-range area, always seems to discombobulate them to this day, even in this new system. Whereas what separated Luka for me, just why I'm valuing the clutch with him so much, was I just feel like every possession the Mavs have a good possession when he has the ball. And even with Giannis, sometimes it's a little disjointed. Even with Tatum, sometimes it's like the ball doesn't seem to find him a lot in the clutch.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of slight edge I gave to Luka despite the defense. So
that's a huge reason why I also didn't have Jason Tatum on the list, is like in clutch situations, like it's the Celtics like him being there, and obviously he can contribute, but they don't need him, and I want my MVP to be really like needed in clutch time situations. It's like, get him the ball right now. He's our guy.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't want to punish Jason Tatum for Jaylen Brown having a hero complex. Like, it's not Jason Tatum's fault that Jaylen Brown is like, oh, I'll just shoot a contested 3 with 20 seconds on the shot clock instead of giving it to Jason Tatum. Like, I think I just didn't want to penalize Tatum because I feel like a lot of it isn't on him as much as it is on Jaylen Brown just not accepting he's the second banana on the team yet.
True. And honestly, at the end of the day, I just feel like, and this is huge for Jason Tatum. I don't think he was always this way, but I think Jason Tatum is inching closer and closer to being that like 16 game player opposed to an 82 game player. I mean, like, this is a guy who has an insane amount of playoff experience at this point. And I think it's just kind of like, I don't know. The playoffs are what I want to see out of Jason Tatum.
Yeah, that's the tough thing with Tatum, right? Is like the finals and that Heat series. It's like the finals, he's supposedly playing through a shoulder injury. This Heat series, he kind of like rolls his ankle like a minute into Game 7. So it's kind of like, I don't know. There is that little bit of an asterisk on his playoff failures that I'm kind of just like, all right, let's see, like, you know, at the end of this season, what that looks like. Because I don't know if I want to totally dog on him for what, you know, appears to be like a shrinking sometimes.
And this conversation is the conversation that everyone is saying that everyone is having about Embiid. And honestly,
yeah, Embiid too. He's always injured. Like, let's see Embiid healthy, you know?
Yeah. So,
who do you have number 2?
I had Embiid.
Oh, you had Embiid.
I had Embiid.
So we both had Jokic at 1.
Dude, this guy.
No, you want to know a crazy stat?
Yeah.
So he has only had a negative plus minus in 3 games. So for perspective, Jason Tatum, who's the best player on the best team, has had a stretch of 5 games in a row with a negative plus minus. All season, the Nuggets have only been outscored 3 times when Jokic is on the court.
Yeah.
And Murray's been gone most of the season.
What has been Jokic's biggest like detraction in the past in MVP conversations? It's been his defense, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's bad at defense. He's not. But this season, literally every advanced metric says that he's been like one of the, if not the best defensive player in the league. He's leading in in defensive win shares, defensive box plus minus. Like, this guy has, I think he's finally figured out a way to play with the size that he plays with on offense in like a more effective way on defense. And then the biggest thing that like I think is a game changer for Jokic and why he's the clear number 1, he's his rebounding. He's leading the league in rebounding right now. Like, and then he's also, so he's leading the league in rebounding. He's the best advanced defensive player metrics wise in the league. He's the best passer in the league, and he's averaging 29 points per game.
He's also the best scorer in the league. Just like straight up, he's the best scorer in the league.
What else do you have to see?
Yeah, I will say the advanced stats have always loved Jokic on defense, and the eye test never quite backs it up. And I think I did a deep dive into it once, and a lot of it's like Jokic's ability to like make the other team not get a lot of like transition opportunities is a big part of what boosts his defense, because his offense, weirdly enough, Jokic's offense is so good it makes the other team have to play way more half court possessions, and that's actually one of the big reasons his defense tends to always grade out so well. But to your point, basketball isn't about like who's best good at defense. It's like, it's really just about, do you score more points than the other team? Some players do that by limiting the points the other team scores. Some players do that by just scoring a lot on their own. And Jokic, he's just the best player in the world. People have been talking about this in other podcasts, but like, I feel like the gap between Jokic and whoever's number 2 is pretty much as big as it was like when LeBron was at his peak.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And the last thing I want to say about Jokic's defense, and like what I think is the best functional part of it, is his hands. And
getting in quick hands, steals, swipes. Like,
do you know where he ranks in total deflections this season?
I know he always leads the NBA in kicked balls, which is a fun Jokic stat.
He's second in total deflections this season. Like, he's like above like the Mikal Bridges of the world. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Jokic where it seems like he's definitely getting his respect way more than he has in the past, but I still feel like there's like a group of people that don't want to give the man his flowers, and I feel like this is a weird thing. I think Jokic has just broken stats to the point where it's made people just stop respecting stats, because Jokic is just literally broken all of the stats.
No, I think that is exactly what it is. He's like so dominant in these stats that it makes you not want to trust their validity.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's Jokic is at the point now where it's like it's almost he's kind of ruined the MVP for me a little bit because like Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, Giannis, Tatum, Shea, LeBron James. Like you put any of these 6 guys in like 2008, maybe not 2008. That's one of those like LeBron years, but like put them in 05 or 06. I honestly think all 6 of them would have won MVP that year.
Absolutely. Well, I think you can expand that list of players that would win
With MVP.
a 2006 MVP.
Yeah, like it's just like I don't know, man. Jokic is just unreal. Like 43% of his teammates' buckets are assisted by him when he's on the court.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like,
you want to hear a scary thing about Jokic?
yeah,
Do you know what he's shooting from 3?
it's kind of low this year.
He's shooting 31% from 3 right now. He's like a career like 35 to 38% 3-point shooter. If he can get back up there, like what's he going to start averaging? Like 32, 35 points per game?
Yeah, I guess like this to me is like the real encapsulation of why Jokic is the MVP. Like we always talk about like the passing, the system, the way he makes the whole offense go. And I feel like even for like the bag people, it's like, well, what's his scoring bag? Well, they had a close game against the Clippers where they're down by like 6 with like 3 minutes left. They just ran Jokic post up over and over and over and over and over again. And he scored literally every possession. They go on to win the game. And what people have to realize about Jokic, and this is why Jokic is truly the greatest scorer. Like, I think if Jokic and Embiid played 1v1, Embiid would dog him, right? But it's not a 1v1 game. The reason why Jokic is the best scorer isn't because maybe he's like the absolute best shooter or the absolute best finisher. Embiid might be an actual better finisher, but Jokic leverages his passing ability to get himself easier looks. That's the true difference to me between Jokic and Embiid, and I love Embiid, is teams aren't afraid of Embiid's passing, and that's why they can get away with double teams. Teams do not double team Jokic because they're terrified of what he'll do if they do that. And because he generates these 1v1 looks, it makes him the more efficient, better scorer.
Well, he generates easy looks for himself. He generates easy looks for his teammates. And it's also like infinitely easier to get him the ball in just like easy places.
His hands, his catching ability is unreal.
He's a great catcher. He can bring up the ball like from the half court super easily, and like you want him to have the ball in those situations.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where someone asked me like, do you think he stat pads? And I was like, Jokic stat pads on accident, because one of like another amazing thing about Jokic is like weird comparison, but like Zion when he came out of the draft, it's like, wow, his second jump is so good. He rebounds his own misses. I've never seen a player who's better at rebounding their own miss than Jokic, like in my life.
Yeah, he's super
like I don't think I've seen a missed Jokic hook shot that didn't end up back in his own hands. Like if he misses, he just ends up scoring anyway.
Yeah, I mean 13.2 rebounds is like that's game changing right there.
Yeah,
if he can keep that for the entirety of the season, like this dude is just
it's like literally like the way you win a basketball game is you outscore the other team. Teams, even without Murray in the court, cannot outscore the Nuggets if Jokic is there. Like that alone, to me, just I don't know. Yeah, that's impact. Like he's the MVP.
Great. Also, screen assists. He's 4th in the league in screen assists. He's an amazing screener. It's like if I don't know. He's like if Deion Sanders, like prime Deion Sanders, was also like Joe Montana, and like he played offense, he played defense, he's played special teams, just like he was the kicker. Like he just affects the game in every single way that really matters.
Yeah. All right. We've thoroughly given Jokic his flowers. I mean, the guy's unreal. This is really a race for number 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, it definitely is. I guess what is the scenario where Jokic could fall?
Injury.
I feel like, I don't know, if the Nuggets for some reason fell to like the 5th or 6th seed in the West, then it becomes a little bit of a conversation for me.
I guess the only reason, like when I just see that stat that I brought up, that literally they've just never been outscored when he's been out there. But like you look at Tatum, it's like 8 games. It's like even Embiid, it's like 7 games. It's like Giannis too. It's like 8. Like that's the difference between Jokic and these guys. Like the Nuggets just straight up win when Jokic is on the court. Mm-hmm. No matter who is around him, they just straight up win. And for me, it's like the best player impacts winning. It's not about individual stats, even though Jokic has the best individual stats. It's about like, do you impact winning? And it's like just more than anybody else, he impacts winning. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess I just don't really see the case that could work against him.
Yeah, it's super tough. And I'm kind of guy, like, I don't know. I was definitely leaning Jokic last season up until the last like couple weeks of the season. It seems right. It seems like he's the kind of player that needs 3 MVPs just for the level that he's reached. And if he wins a 3rd MVP, like when you start talking about all-time placement, I think even without a championship this year, like it's really hard for me to keep him out of like, and like he very well may win a championship, but he is very fastly approaching like top 10 range. Like I think the KD versus Nikola Jokic argument gets very, very real at that point. The Hakeem versus Jokic arguments get very, very real at that point. It will be super interesting when we get into the next offseason where Jokic sits.
Oh, man. I think if Jokic wins a championship again this year and gets another finals MVP, like, I don't even get to debate versus those guys.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I'm saying. If he wins a championship, I would absolutely put him above a KD, and I would put him above a Hakeem. And then it gets to those guys that it's really hard.
It's really hard
to like get over without like 4 championships. Like Steph's right there, Larry Bird's right there, Magic Johnson's right there. But those are the kinds of players that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, he might be the best offensive player of all time. Like, just, I don't know. I know no one wants to say it, but it's just like there's more arguments for it than there are against it at this point.
Yeah.
All right, Patrick. Hot streak, shooting slump. Every week we just talk about, do you have a hot streak or do you have a shooting slump?
Yeah. For me, I think I had a hot streak this week. I had a pretty good week. I'm feeling better, which I'm super happy about. I mean, we only had one Suns game and the Suns lost, which was disappointing. But the Suns got into the in-season tournament, which is something that I was really cheering for. Then I got that little Timberwolves over Thunder win. So I'm gonna say I'm having a little bit of a hot streak. How about you, my man?
I'm gonna say I had a shooting slump. Yeah, just I don't know, just not. There's nothing about this week that screamed great week. You know, I kind of just worked every day.
Yeah.
You know, didn't really. I feel like I could have been more productive. I've always get down on myself when I feel like I'm not getting enough done. Yeah, I don't really have any stories from this week. Just kind of a malaise. You know, every week I do my little like NFL check-in on hot streak shooting slump. The Giants freaking won again. Pissing. We're taking ourselves out of the ability to even take a quarterback at this point. You know, the Bills are like always been my satellite team during this era of NFL football. They lost to the Eagles. I hate the Eagles. Man, I hate the Eagles. Yeah. I don't like them.
Yeah, I've never been an Eagles guy either. I don't really have like a dog in the Eagles fight, but they're just one of those teams that like gives me bad vibes, you know?
Yeah.
It's like Alabama football. I don't know why, but I don't like it.
Just to test them.
Yeah, I just don't like them.
Yeah, what else was this shooting slump? You know, I don't know. Oh yeah, my step counter, man. My steps are so down.
Ooh.
So when I lived in the city, my average steps was about 6,000. So a bad step day for me would be about like 5,000. Dude, you want to guess what my average steps are since I've moved back to the suburbs? I'm like ashamed.
No.
I'm at 2,400.
Ooh.
You know, I moved into a neighborhood with a green belt. Dude, I talked to my trainer. He's like, bro, you got to figure this out.
You're settling down.
I was like, why? I'm working out pretty regularly. Why have I been gaining weight? Walking 4,000 steps. Dude, I learned, you know, I bought a house. I'm pretty locked in. I found out I don't like green belts. I don't dislike green belts, but I liked walking in city streets way more. There's more stuff to see, more to do.
Not a hot streak, but a hot take.
It's like a shooting slump in the like, damn, I'm in the burbs now.
Yeah.
This is not the city life that I really enjoy.
That you thrived on.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it heats up. We've got a big day ahead of us. We do. Shooting a very special every year round video.
Yes.
That I'm sure you guys can all guess if you really think about it.
Yeah, my brother Jesse does 100 presents every year on YouTube. I'm sure all of you know about it. We're filming that later today.
So that'll be fun.
That will be fun. Max, you have a hot streak or a shooting slump?
I'm kind of more on your wavelength this week with the shooting slump.
Yeah.
Just been working a lot, kind of tired. But hey, the Wolves are 14-4. And I know you're wearing that Towns jersey, ironically, but he had a really great game against the Jazz last night, super dominant. So if you ever want to, get rid of that jersey, hit me up.
Right now, you guys can't see Max, but 2 of the 3 people in this room are wearing Timberwolves swag. I feel like I'm like,
we need to get some T-Wolves stuff for the set.
we got to get something. Maybe something KG would be cool.
Yeah.
Or like
KG bobblehead.
Yeah, KG bobblehead.
Maybe I'll get like a framed photo of KG with the quote, "LeBron is the GOAT."
Yeah, there we go.
Boston fans would hate that.
Yeah, Boston fan. I think Bill Simmons would just like burst into flames.
Hey man, that's not a made up quote.
Hey, yeah, I hear you. Okay, well, this has been a fun episode.
Way too early MVP rankings. Which a random question. Obviously, we've kind of passed the NBA stuff. If you were to guess one player to go really far up or really far down, or to enter your list, or who would it be?
I mean, I'm going with Devin Booker. Like I think he's got a real statistical like resume already. One of the huge reasons why I didn't have him in there was because he just hasn't played enough games. And that very well may be the reason why he ultimately isn't in this conversation, because he might just not play enough games in general. But he's been different this season, and I've really loved to see that. What about you?
I think Giannis is going to find his way all the way up to number 2 on my list at some point. If I were to guess, that's why I had him. It's like a little forward looking. I just feel like, I know we just did the whole no one's going to catch Jokic. I still think that, but I do kind of feel like this season was the like Giannis Jokic heavyweight fight waiting to happen, and
I hope you're right. He was both of our MVP choices.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think it's time. We need some real Giannis Jokic like heavyweight. I want some good regular season games. Obviously, they can't meet in the in-season tournament final, but like I don't know, a Bucks Nuggets finals it'd be like the defining finals of the 2020s. I feel like.
Yeah. At least for like a one-on-one.
I feel like the 2016 finals, the LeBron Steph one, that's like the defining finals of the 2010s. And I feel like if we got a Bucks Nuggets, that would be like the defining finals of the decade.
I just realized we didn't make in-season tournament MVP picks.
I mean, I'm assuming we're just choosing whoever the best player on our team is.
Who's a long shot that you would throw some money at?
Well, since I have the Kings going to the finals, Fox.
Yeah, that's who I was gonna say. Also, Brunson. Brunson's been super, super awesome.
Yeah.
To start this season, like he's obviously not like a MVP candidate, but I think he's a guy who could get insanely hot over these next 3 games and like put himself in that conversation.
All right, we're losing it. Patrick and I are both running on no sleep today, so I hope you all had a good one. We'll talk hoops next week and have some happy holidays. It's December.
Woo!
Peace.